Welcome. My name is Dustin Luther, and I'm here with Dun & Bradstreet Credibility Corp. And I want to welcome everyone to today's Supplier Edge. Today we have Jody Bayer on, and she's going to be talking about how women business owners can leverage their women owner status in order to land additional government and corporate contracts. She'll be talking about certification and all kinds of good stuff. And I just couldn't be more excited. I'm so glad that we have her. So I don't want to take a lot of time talking about with the background on this, because I really want to dive into our content. I've obviously looked over her slides. There's some great stuff there, and they're just chock full of great content. So without further ado, I want to introduce here Jody Bayer, the Director of Growth Business Programs at the Center for Women and Enterprise. They're based in New England, and they're an affiliate, one of the 14 affiliates of the Women Business Enterprise National Council, or as I'll probably be calling them, and I've heard her call them before, WeBank. So with that, Jody, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you, Dustin. It's such a pleasure to be here, and such a pleasure to be able to tell everyone about WeBank certification and how women-owned businesses can benefit from that. So let me dive right into the presentation here. Let's see. There we go. Just figuring out the technology. So we're going to talk about how and why you should certify your business as women-owned. So I'm assuming that a lot of businesses that are on the line are women-owned businesses or know of women-owned businesses. And this is what we're going to cover today. So when it comes to certification of businesses, it can certainly be a very complicated and confusing thing. So first we're going to talk about the landscape. And then we'll talk about the supply chain and supplier diversity, which a lot of these great webinars relate to. So I'm going to give you an overview of how that actually works. We'll talk about WeBank certification, the steps to get certified, what kind of corporations are looking for WeBank certification, a little bit of criteria to see if you think your business is a candidate, and then talk about other certification options out there for your business. So let's get into the certification landscape. This is a very simplified version of kind of what's out there. So we see three buckets, right? So one is if you want to do business in the public sector, in the private sector, with corporations or with other women-owned businesses. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about doing business with corporations, which is where you want to think about WeBank certification if you're a woman-owned business. The other areas are if you want to do business with state agencies or if you want to do business with the federal government. And that's a whole different ballgame for those two areas. And we'll talk a little bit about those in a few minutes. So let's talk about the supply. So now we're diving into doing business with corporations, but let's understand how the supply chain and supplier diversity works with a corporation. So in its most simplest form, we have an end consumer who's looking to buy some kind of product or service. And for example, they want to buy some shipping services from UPS. Well, in order for UPS to deliver its products, its services to its end consumer, it has to source products and services to run its operations. So for example, maybe they're leasing trucks or something to do their services. So the suppliers that are closest to the corporation are known as Tier 1 or prime suppliers. And then those suppliers also need suppliers in order to run their businesses. And then the suppliers that are providing products and services to Tier 1 suppliers are known as Tier 2 suppliers or subcontractors, depending on what industry you're in. And so on, Tier 3 and so on. So in its simplest form, this is the supply chain, okay? And many of you are probably already familiar with that. So now let's talk about supplier diversity. What is that all about? Well, it's an effort on the part of the corporation, so for example, UPS, to ensure that in the supply chain they're doing business with diverse vendors. Many of them will be looking at for women-owned businesses, minority, veteran, small business designation by the Small Business Administration, disabled businesses, LGBT businesses. There are a lot of different segments that a lot of companies are targeting. And the way they measure this is typically a percent of total spend or a dollar figure based on what they put out to bid. Now it's important to understand that in the private sector, these are not quotas or set-asides. These are corporate goals. These are top-down goals where the corporation wants to do business with diverse vendors. So when you get to quotas and set-asides, that's when you're talking about the federal government. And some corporations who do business with the federal government, they do have a couple of set-asides that are rolled down from the federal government. But in general, we're talking about corporate goals. And I mentioned all the different areas that corporations are looking to do business with, and you can see that women-owned businesses are up there for the types of diverse vendors that companies are looking for. And this is based on a survey done by the Institute for Supply Management related to supplier diversity. You'll see that the biggest two buckets that they're looking to source are women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. So why do they want to do this supplier diversity? What's in it for them? Well, also in this survey that I just mentioned, they think it's the right thing to do. They know it's going to give them a positive corporate image. They know they're creating jobs. They're contributing to their local economy. And also from a PR standpoint, it's good business, right? But they also recognize that doing business with diverse businesses can offer them new ways to reach that target market. So for reaching women consumers if they're doing business with women-owned businesses. So they're in red. I'm not sure if you can read that, but there's an interesting survey done where if a corporation effectively promoted the fact that they do business from a supplier diversity standpoint with women-owned businesses, that female consumers are more likely to buy their products because they want to support women-owned vendors. So also, they recognize that doing business with diverse businesses, it may lead to decreased costs, higher quality, quicker turnaround. They know that women-owned businesses may have lower cost structures because maybe they're smaller. Maybe they're more creative, more innovative. Actually, I hear that a lot from my corporate clients. And then finally, maybe further up the supply chain, they have some federal requirements where the federal government's saying to, for example, Raytheon, don't bother sending me those missiles unless, 5% of it was made by women-owned businesses or, contributed products or something. And also customer requirements, so further up the supply chain. So, for example, a grocery store, say Stop and Shop, may be telling its vendors, Tier 1 vendors, that don't bother, being a prime supplier to me if you're not also practicing supplier diversity. Actually, interesting anecdote, Chrysler, not too long ago, sent out a communication to all of their prime suppliers and said, prove to us that you yourself have a supplier diversity program or you're cut off. So you can imagine all those prime suppliers were scrambling to develop supplier diversity programs. Many of them called us here locally in New England and then in other areas, what is supplier diversity and how do I do it? So interesting stuff. So now let's overlay some supplier diversity on our supply chain. So here we are back at our supply chain. So you can see that the corporation is going to look downstream to meet its supplier diversity goals. They're going to look at their Tier 1 and prime suppliers and count those toward their supplier diversity goals. But typically it's difficult for smaller businesses to get in at that prime level because those are larger businesses, longer contracts, bigger contracts, and you may not have the capacity to deliver there. So a realistic place to start would be at Tier 2 or Tier 3 to be able to get into this supplier diversity supply chain. I will say, though, that there is a special club called the $1 Billion Roundtable where some of these corporations in green are specifically targeting their prime suppliers to be women-owned or diverse businesses at the $1 billion mark. So in order to qualify for the $1 Billion Roundtable, that corporation has to prove that they do $1 billion worth of business at the prime supplier level with diverse businesses. There's probably half a dozen or 2 dozen corporations that are in the $1 Billion Roundtable. So in order to play in this game, though, as a woman-owned business, certification is key, because corporations and even government agencies won't even begin to build a relationship with you if your business is not certified. And WBENC, Women's Business Enterprise National Council, is one of the most recognized certifications. Now, this is also from that survey that I mentioned before, that the certifications that corporations accept as proof of diversity status, you'll see that the WBENC certification is one of the more highly recognized certification for the corporations. You'll also see next to it the NMSDC, which is the certification agency for minority-owned businesses. So again, there's a lot of focus with these corporations on women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. So if you happen to fall within both of those categories, then we recommend that you get both those certifications, which I'll talk about in a second. So that was basically our supply chain and supplier diversity primer. So now let's talk specifically about WBENC certification. Now, what is WBENC? So it's Women's Business Enterprise National Council, and it's a large nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C., and it's, as I mentioned, it's a large third-party certifier of businesses that can prove that they are owned, controlled, and operated by a woman or women, and it's domestic. So across the United States, there are over 11,000 certified WBEs, or Women's Business Enterprises. And to get WBE designation, you have to be WBENC certified. And then also across the United States are about 600 corporations, educational institutions, government agencies that partner with WBENC in order to get access to those women-owned businesses so that they can satisfy their supplier diversity goals. So the way WBENC is run throughout the United States is through 14 regional affiliate offices. So you can see there the United States is broken down into 14 areas, and there we are for New England. So the Center for Women in Enterprise happens to be its own independent nonprofit, but part of our organization is partnered with WBENC to deliver the certification and value-add services of WBENC certification. So you can see at the bottom, the certification is a national certification. So regardless of what affiliate you get certified in, your certification is good anywhere in the United States and with any corporation that's a member of WBENC. Now, profiles of certified businesses, this just happens to be New England businesses, but the point of this slide is just to show you that you can have, $1,000 in revenue, you can have $100 million in revenue. There's no revenue requirement to get certified. So long as you have the capability to deliver on contracts, if you want to do business with corporations, and that's what's important. Same thing with number of employees. We have single sole proprietors, and then we have companies with, hundreds of employees. Again, size doesn't matter. Same thing with industry. So again, this is a snapshot of New England, but this is, maybe somewhat representative of the United States WBENC certified businesses. All over the board. So we have traditional traditional women-owned businesses such as marketing or staffing services, and then we have very non-traditional businesses like construction, manufacturing, transportation, logistics. So it's all over the board. So that was a little bit about WBENC. So now let's talk about the process of getting certified. So simply stated, if your company is seeking certification, these are the basic criteria to be considered for certification. Your business needs to be at least 51% owned, controlled, and operated by a woman or women. And you have to be able to prove that with your operating agreement, with legal documents, with signature authority documentation, etc. You also have to prove that you have contributed some capital or expertise to the business. You have to be independent in decision-making, and you have to be a U.S. citizen or U.S. resident alien. Again, business size and type don't matter. Doesn't matter if you have $1, doesn't matter if you have one employee, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. So the first step in the process is there's an online application. There is a long list of supporting documentation that has to be submitted to prove that you own the business, and then there's an annual certification fee. And then also, WBENC has a partnership with the Small Business Administration that at no additional cost, you can also become WOSB certified, which is the certification required for federal contracts. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. The second step is once all that information is pulled together, then your file is reviewed by a trained certification committee. So every affiliate office has 1, 2, or 3 committees, and they meet monthly to review files and make an approve or deny recommendation. And the committee is comprised of people who are trained. It can be community advocates, other certified women-owned businesses, supplier diversity people, all kinds of people who volunteer to be on the committee and are trained to review those files and understand what to look for. After the file is reviewed, then another group of volunteers are out in the field, and they'll come visit your place of business, even if it's a home office, come visit with you and ask you a few questions, have a look around to make sure that everything that is in your file matches what they see, and then they make an approve or deny recommendation. And then once 2 and 3 are looked at and they decide that you should be approved, then you become WBENC certified as a Women's Business Enterprise, or WBE. So that's the process. When it comes to the documents required, it can be a very lengthy list. So I'm not going to click on this link right now, but it does take you to the WBENC national website where it lists all the documents. And for all businesses that are applying for certification, you have to provide the general company information, owner eligibility, financial structure, personnel, management information. And then when it comes to governance, the requirements differ based on what type of organization you have. So if it's a sole proprietorship, obviously the required paperwork is going to be very different and much less than if you have a corporation. Now, as I mentioned, there is an annual fee, and a certification is something that you renew annually. Now, in New England, our fees are $350 to $1,000 based on prior year gross revenues, but those fees vary by affiliate office, so I can't comment right now on what the other affiliate offices are for fees. And as I mentioned, so this is an annual recertification, and this list of documents, it looks short on this slide. However, when you click on that link, it's a lengthy web page. But not to worry, because once you go through that initial certification, recertification is just 2 or 3 documents just to re-up what you already submitted, unless there are substantial changes. And then getting certified, there are a lot of benefits to getting certified. You have credentials, you have connections, and you have some consulting and coaching. How do you like those 3 C's? So credentials. So the great thing about WBENC certification is that it gives you the brand recognition with corporations and with other women-owned businesses. And you get that WBENC certified designation. It's kind of like a good housekeeping stamp of approval for anyone who is old enough to appreciate that comment. There's also an opportunity to present and or sponsor at regional events and national WBENC events. There are award opportunities regionally and nationally. Importantly, there are a ton of connections. So WBENC is all about making connections. Now, number one, there is a database of all 11,000 plus certified businesses as well as 600 plus corporations that are in that database. And once you become WBENC certified, you can go in there and search by location, by industry, by company name, by state, anything. And then also what we do is we have networking events and matchmaking events. And what matchmaking is all about is it's kind of like speed dating. So it's where corporations sit on one side of the table and WBEs on the other side of the table, and they have 10 to 15 minutes to pitch their business and then move on to the next table. So it's just a great opportunity to get your name out there. And then there are a lot of opportunities to grow your business. So there are best practice webinars, there are workshops, there are programs, there are conferences, events. We in New England have a corporate mentor program where some of our corporate partners will mentor our women-owned businesses. We also offer one-on-one consulting with some of our professional consultants here in New England. So those are a lot of the benefits for WBENC certification. Now, I also mentioned that there are about 600 plus corporations that are interested in doing business with women-owned businesses. So this is just a slide that represents some of the corporations that are members who are interested in New England businesses, and they're good friends to the Center for Women in Enterprise, and pay a membership fee to us every year to have access to our local women-owned businesses. But again, nationally, there are over 600 of these corporations. And these are big names. You can see by the list. These are not small companies. These are large corporations who are trying to meet supplier diversity numbers. So bottom line, is your business a candidate for certification? So number one is, importantly, is your company at least 51% owned, operated, managed, and controlled by a woman or women? Do you target corporations? Do you have the capability to deliver? Are you interested in partnering or doing business with other established women-owned businesses? And are you willing to invest the time and effort into completing the application process, especially that initial process? You can find out more about certification at our website, cweonline.org/certification, or at the WeBank national website, webank.org. Or if you want to apply, you want to go to webanklink.org, and that's where you can start the application process. But WeBank is not the only certification out there. So as I mentioned, there are other certifications. So we just talked about the blue section where WeBank certification for women-owned businesses is the best way to get an entree with corporations for supplier diversity. But we also have opportunities with state agencies and federal government. So let me talk a little bit about that. If you want to do business with the state, each state has its own certifications, and typically those are DBE certifications, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or M/WBE, which is Minority/Women-Owned Business, Women Business Enterprise. And again, every state is different. So what you want to do is go to state.gov sites, and in their search box, search DBE, WBE, or supplier diversity. If you happen to be located in New England, visit our website, because we have information for all 6 New England states at this website that you see. If you're interested in federal contracts, there's a whole other certification that you want to pursue if you're a woman-owned business, and this is the certification that federal agencies look for, which is WOSB, or Women-Owned Small Business. And as I mentioned before, this is offered as an add-on for WeBank certification if you're pursuing WeBank certification. Or if you want to do WOSB certification on its own, you would go right to the SBA.gov website, and then they can tell you all about the WOSB certification. Or to find out detailed information about WOSB certification, you can visit our website and click on the Federal tab, and you'll find out more information about it. Again, there's no additional fee if you get certified through WeBank to get that WOSB add-on certification. So this chart, this is my last slide just for timing, just want to let you know. This looks a little daunting, but I'm going to choose this little highlighter here to show you how it works. This is a summary of all the possible certifications that you can consider. And I want to say that if you want to, if you happen to fall within more than one category for diversity, if you happen to be a minority woman who is also a lesbian, and you would fall within those 3 categories for diversity, we urge you to get all 3 of those certifications. And the reason why is because when corporations are trying to fill their supplier diversity numbers, they have them in buckets. So if they meet their goals for women-owned business, and you happen to qualify also for minority-owned business, you can compete in that category. And then if they fill that category, you can compete in the LGBT category. So that is if companies categorize them like that. Some of them have a lump sum that says we want to do X% in diverse businesses. But many companies with robust supplier diversity programs, they'll categorize them just like that. We want 3% women, we want 5% minority, 1% LGBT, that kind of thing. So let's get back to this chart. So if your business, we just talked about this, if your business is women-owned and you want to do business with corporations, then you want WeBank certification. So there's the link there. If you want to do business with the state, you want WBE certification through a state.gov office. And if you want to do business with the federal government, you want WOSB certification. So those are the 3 things we just talked about. So quickly, if you happen to also be a race-based minority and you want to do business with corporations, you want MBE certification through the NMSDC. To do business with the state, you want MBE certification with the state. And if you're eligible with the government, you want to participate in the 8A program. So that's some information there, and then page 2 is similar. So if your business happens to be a service-disabled veteran-owned business, then you want the SDVOSB certification. If you're disabled, you want the DSDP, which is through the USBLN. A lot of acronyms are LGBT. You want to get the LGBTBE through the NGLCC. It's an A, B, C, D, E, F, G alphabet. But this chart hopefully makes it a little more clear-cut and helps you understand what certification is for what. And again, if you have multiple, if you fall within those categories, we urge you to get those multiple certifications. And that's everything. That is certification. That's WeBank certification. That's a little bit about state and federal for women, and then all certifications available to you. Dustin?
Jody, Thank you so much. We have a few people here in the office. I'm in listening, and we were smiling as you went through the acronyms and the letters there. We kind of had a little giggle. So it was there's a lot to be said there, but no, it was just wonderful, wonderful information. I know that as we were listening, a couple of us were like, oh, that makes so much more sense. So that's great stuff, and I'm sure that many people who are listening in have a similar reaction. So with that said, I want to encourage anyone who has questions to ask them. I know that, it's one of the problems with your presentation there is you were so comprehensive that I'm not sure that we're going to get a ton of questions. You kind of covered it. You covered so much good stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if people do come in here. I wanted to highlight just a few things, though, before we open it up to the questions. The first is we're going to be doing future webinars coming up soon. We actually have people who lead the supplier diversity programs from Dell and Amgen and Hilton coming up in the upcoming weeks. We're really excited about that. I spent this week as well at a supply chain conference and had lots of interest from other people who are leading Fortune 500 style companies who would love to just share their programs and are interested in getting women-owned businesses and other businesses, veterans, minorities, and those kinds of things. So they were very excited, and everything you said there rang true based on the conversations that I've been having. So I encourage everyone to go to dnb.com/supplier. You'll see a link to the webinars. And if you see something else or you thought, I really should learn about how to potentially do business with Dell or one of these others, it's not always just in a direct supply relationship. They're looking for lots of different people. I've listened to some of these programs and almost been surprised at the kind of work they look to do. So a Dell might be looking for WE businesses for their HR, or they might be looking for web design. It's not always just manufacturing computers or those kinds of things. So something to keep in mind, and definitely I hope that others will join us on future events as well. So with that said, I want to also say that we have a community that we opened up just about a week ago when we ran our first Supplier Edge, and it's on LinkedIn. We're calling it Supplier Edge. We're going to be posting all of the slides as well as a recording of this as soon as it's available. The slides we should be able to get up in less than a half an hour. So please, if you're interested, you can either just go to linkedin.com and search for Supplier Edge Community. I'll also try to put a link in here in the chat, so you can click over and join that as well. So, but please encourage you, if you have follow-up questions down the line. I talked to Jody and mentioned that maybe we'll end up if you have questions later down the road, she'll be joining that community as well, hopefully, and we can continue to engage and inform. And as we bring more of these experts on, we can continue to grow out that community. So, also want to say, Jody said, please feel free to email her anytime. If you have questions directly for her. She is J Baer. It's Jbaier. I got that right, Jody?
Yes.
Okay, so jbaer at cweonline.org. So the Center for Women in Enterprise is what the CWE stands for, cweonline.org. Feel free to email her anytime. And I am ready to dive in. I'm looking the questions I have. I see one here. I'm going to start with that. Well, the first question we did have is somebody asked, can I print out the slide presentations? We're going to be loading them up into SlideShare, as I said, and posting them on our LinkedIn group. If they're not there already, they'll be there shortly. And so, yes, you'll be able to print them out, share them. We're also, I went through, and as Jody was mentioning, links, I actually posted some of them in in a thread on that community. So if you're going, oh, I can't get back to this chat later down the road, please feel free to go to the LinkedIn group where that stuff will be available well into the future. So with that said, there's now another question here that I see, and it says, we are already certified. How should we go about finding potential customers?
Well, that's a great question. But the first question that I have back to the participant is, are you WeBank certified or are you state certified? So if you are WeBank certified, then there are a lot of opportunities. So there's the opportunity to go into the WeBank database and start searching for customers and reaching out to them. And WeBank also has two huge conferences every year. In March, there's a huge conference called the Salute and Summit, where hundreds of corporations and hundreds of WBEs attend, and that's a great networking opportunity. In June, they also have a second conference, which is their main business fair and conference, which is another huge opportunity to connect with large corporations, because there's also a trade show. So you basically go booth to booth, and you understand what they want. You give them your information. And then also a lot of networking. They also have matchmaking available at that event. And regionally, there are a lot of opportunities with your regional affiliate. They have webinars. They have conferences. We just happened to have one of our big conference a couple of weeks ago with 400 women-owned businesses and corporations there. We also, in New England, and I'm not sure about the other affiliate offices, but we have events. We hold events where we bring corporations and women-owned businesses together. And then if you're going to just go kind of cold sales, I mean, you want to reach out to the supplier diversity person at the corporation, tell them you're certified, tell them what you can do for that company, make sure that you do the research for the company first, and then start and build a relationship. The key is to take initiative and leverage your certification, because it's not a build it and they will come type of thing, certification. A certification is a tool. It's a marketing tool and it's a selling tool, and you have to work it.
Totally makes sense. So we have one more question here. I actually wanted, though, to say one thing based on my experience that you might find it might be helpful for this community as well. That is that I go to a lot of events. I was at a Navy Gold Coast event where the Navy helps people who want to do procurement with them and other big companies that do business with the Navy. And a large company you actually mentioned earlier, you reminded me of this when you said their name, they were at the booth next to us. And they would send everybody over and say, one thing, it's important. It's not it's not going to determine whether you get the contract or not, but go check your business credit file, because if your supplier score is not a 6 or better, then there's a good chance that you won't. Then there's the guy literally said, it'll take an act of Congress for us to work with you. And I don't know that a lot of the business owners, so they get certified, that they're not even necessarily aware of why they might not be getting contracts. But it's something worth paying attention to, is that if you do look to get these big corporate contracts, they will pull your D&B business file. Almost always require a DUNS number, and they're just going to use. They'll often use it as a threshold. So is that something, Jody, that rings true? Is that something you've heard before, or am I?
Definitely,
from events?
definitely. When I speak to my corporate clients, they definitely look for credit rating. They look for certification. They look for references, and they look for capacity and ability to deliver. So, yep, that you're spot on.
Sweet. So it's just one of those things that I thought I would say. And if you are curious here, we actually set up a number that's on the slide there that somebody can call, and they'll let you know what your scores are today. So at least you know that if you're having any issues, it's there. And you want to make sure information is accurate. A woman from Lockheed Martin was real clear one time, saying, "Look, we get people in whose names don't match, or addresses don't match, or ownership doesn't match their application with their D&B business credit file, and they have to get it matching before we can even consider them." So it's good to get that's one of those kind of T's you got to cross and I's you got to dot. But so with that said, I want to dive into another question we have here, and I'm not sure. It says pick one medical, and is a small business that would like to start the application process. However, there's only one staff member for all administrative tasks. Is there any individuals or someone that has business that would help with the application process so that it can be done in a timely manner?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I mean, there may be some businesses out there that are WeBank application support businesses. I'm not aware of any. The way our clients do it, so we do have some one-woman shows out there that do pull this documentation together. It is an arduous task. I'm not gonna kid you, but sometimes our clients will reach out to lawyers, although you may not want to invest any of that type of money. But a lot of times you reach out to a lawyer, to an accountant, to help you pull together the documentation. Otherwise, just take your time and try and pull it all together. But no, I'm not aware of anyone that does any kind of support service for that kind of thing. Although I will say, I can't speak for other affiliate offices, but not that our team here in New England can come to your office and pull it together for you. But we, as a WeBank service agency, we're here at, you pick up the phone and call us anytime, and we'll walk you through exactly what you need. And I'm sure the other affiliate offices are doing the same. So it's all about trying to make it as painless as possible for you.
Well, wonderful, Jody. I want to thank you. We're actually, we scheduled these things for half an hour, and we're 5 minutes over. There was just so much good stuff in there. So I want to, wrap it up here as much as I kind of. I'm sure we could keep going. We've got other questions here for you, but I think we're going to take those to the LinkedIn community, as well as let others please follow up either directly with you, Jody, or with us. And we are so thankful that you were able to come on here and provide such great information for women business owners.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with any and all of you on future Supplier Edge webinars.